When I was growing up, I lived on a sustainable farm. Of course, back then they called it an old poor dirt farmer. Funny how time changes perception, isn't it? So a lot of what I learned about sustainability actually came from my mama's. And one of the things my mama always did was made Appalachian stack cake. And it was a special thing. We only did it at Christmas because it was labor intensive and it took a while to actually get it made. My mama did it the way that her mama taught her. So, and I helped her from the time I was like, honestly, I barely able to get up on a chair and stir in the pan. I loved helping my mama. And so my mama would dry the apples. We had apples at our farm and dry them. And today I still dry apples, much to Deb's dismay at times, because my favorite dehydrator is actually the windowsill in the car in the truck. So you dry your apples and then you put them in the freezer. And then when it comes time around Christmas, you take your apples out and rehydrate them. Now, my mama originally put molasses in the apples for sugaring because sugar was a very limited item that they had back there. It came from the sugar cane, and it was easier to make molasses. So that's how she sweetened the apples. And that's the recipe that I use today, is sweeten the apples with the molasses. We made our own molasses. We had our next door neighbor helped us, and we grew the sugar cane, and they had the mill and the mules, and it was a whole neighbor family event that I'll have to tell you about sometime. And then early on, we actually grew our own wheat, and we had a mill in our little town that we could take the wheat to and mill it and have our own flour. So that original flour was what today we call all-purpose flour. And the reason you needed to have a sifter is because you needed to put some cornstarch and baking soda to help make your flour rise. So today most people use self-rising. Occasionally I do, but I still like using the all-purpose. So I have things that were given to me from both of my mamas. So this cutting board, my great uncle Clarence made this cutting board, and I've used it to roll out the cake layers for, let's see, how old am I? For about 55 years that I've been doing it, helping doing it. This is my mama's rolling pin. Again, Uncle Clarence made that one. And then the little skillets that we used were actually on my mama. Wiggins gave me these because my papa was a blacksmith, and he made these, and they were just the right size because we wanted to make some of these as gifts, and most of the skillets were bigger, and so that took up a lot more dough, and we were being thrifty with what we had. And the Appalachian stack cakes were shared for Christmas presents, and people appreciated them because they knew it was a labor of love. So I'm going to be making some as we go along. I'll video some parts and let you know in the end what Appalachian stack cake looks like, and I don't know, if you're lucky, maybe what it tastes like. Okay? So the next step in making the stack cakes, Appalachian stack cakes, is you've mixed all of your flour and sugar and molasses and everything that you've got there, and put enough flour, and you have to knead it. And then you've got little balls, and you'll break these balls off to about the size of what these pans are going to be. I've been doing it so long I can sort of figure it out by now. And then you're going to put it on your board and sprinkle a little flour on it, and then you'll roll it out. Okay, after you roll it out, then you're going to put it in your little iron skillet, and it's good to have the skillet hot, and put a little butter on the bottom. Remember, this is an iron skillet, so it is going to need something to keep it from sticking. So we just put a little butter, and then you lay it out. I'll show you in just a second. And you put it in, and you sort of have to spread it like this so it'll fit the layer of the pan. And then you're going to bake it. This is like a giant sugar cookie, and we're going to bake it for 8 minutes or so. Anyway, until it gets light brown, golden brown. I actually think I put too much apples in it. It's a little runny there. But then you just do the same thing, put it on your iron skillet, stick it in there, and cook it that way. Piece together another little apple pie. It looks like, as usual, that I have made a baking mess. My friend Julie and I used to make these together, and her mom actually decided that not to let us do it at her house anymore because we made such a mess. Maybe I'll let Deb clean it up. One of the things I enjoyed doing with my mama was we'd look at the different ones and go through and pick the prettiest one for a top. So that was always fun because some did not, some broke. That's going to be a bottom for sure. So the reason that they're called stack cakes is because you take a layer at the bottom and you put your dried applesauce concoction on top of them, and then you're going to take another one and stack that layer on top of it, put more applesauce, stack it again. You can go 4 layers, 6 layers. We used to do 3 layers. I'm going to do 2 layers right now because I'm dividing this up. Not everybody appreciates a good old stack cake, so I'm only going to give it to people who appreciate it. And then, oh look, here's Deb's prize. It doesn't have to be pretty, it just has to taste good, right? So there you have it. Passing along a tradition that I usually just passed along to family. But since we're all one, I'll pass it out to everyone. How to make Appalachian stack cake. And as you can tell, it's a labor of love. It does take a while. I think that's sometimes why people get frustrated in this day and age when we talk about sustainability, because sometimes things in nature do take a while. That's a process. It's a process to get to the harvest. But that's the joy, isn't it? The journey. Not always the end results. Of course, the end results can be tasty too. Have a great day.